Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Voices in the Game. Hope you all are enjoying your Thanksgiving weekend as we are recording this episode during Thanksgiving week. And I am so excited to get our conversation started with our guest here today. She is a former Division I college basketball player at both Ohio University and Duquesne University, and you can find her now as the color commentator for Duquesne women's basketball for their home games. And she was just inducted into the Pittsburgh Basketball Club Women's Hall of Fame. She is Mrs. Rachel Zimmerman. Rachel, it is such an honor to have you on. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, I'm so appreciative to be here. Thankful for having me, very much so.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Yeah, I cannot wait. And first off, how's your Thanksgiving so far? Have you been cooking or anything once you're hosting?
Fortunately, I don't have to do too much cooking for this holiday, but I do make a mean sweet potato casserole. I kind of try to go off of the Ruth Chris recipe. So good, but so much sugar, so much butter. It's not the healthiest, but it is a tasty treat. Yeah,
Uh,
so yeah.
Oh, that is awesome, Rachel. So yeah, I would love to get our conversation started with today's episode. So I want to first, go back to the beginning with you growing up in Western Pennsylvania. So when did you first start playing basketball? And do you remember when you decided you wanted to continue playing at the high school level, that of course on to the college level?
Yeah, I am the youngest of three kids. I have an older sister, Jill. She's 8 years older than me, and a brother 6 years older than I am. Adam is his name, and they both were very involved in sports. My sister was, last I checked, third leading scorer in Hampton history, and then my brother played football at Shadyside Academy, and he played basketball as well. So growing up, being the youngest, I just was following them everywhere, all over the state, different tournaments, and I was always in a gym, being a ball girl there and watching and thinking, if they can do it, I can do it too. So, I had the love for basketball at a very early age. My parents got me involved with Little Panthers, and so they would take me over to the Fitzgerald Field House back in the day when the Panthers played there, and every Sunday we would do ball handling and then perform during their halftime of their games. So that was a really great opportunity. And then I would when anytime my brother and sister were out playing basketball, I would be out there dribbling, and they would say, "Mom, she's in the way again, Dad." So my parents actually put up another hoop for me on the side of the driveway. So we had two basketball hoops in this driveway. Um, and that was my hoop while they worked out. And I had the opportunity to play trout for this AAU team, and it sounded like a dream. Colton, like, you can go play at Disney World. And I was in fourth grade, and I tried out, and I made this team. It's called the Western Pennsylvania Bruins, and a lot of talented players come out of that program. And I was able to stay through that program the whole entire way. I was coached by some of the best coaches. Dory Oldecker. She was former Blackhawk and Mount Lebanon coach. Mike McConnell, he coached at Carleton, now is in roughing for national championship NCAA tournaments. It's really some great talented coaches that led me through AU. And then there was a time that I had the opportunity to make a decision. My brother went to Shady Side, and my parents kind of gave me the same option, if you want to go somewhere else. And I shadowed a lot of different schools. In North Catholic was one of the schools, and I fell in love with the basketball program there. Molly Rotman, Larkin Rotman was the coach there. She still is one of the winningest coaches in all of PA. Um, and I had the chance to have a great education. So I went there, and, you know, basketball has been so good to me. The people that I've been able to play with, the places I've seen, really, it's just been an amazing sport that I just love and will forever be grateful I picked up that ball.
And when did you get the realization, Rachel, that hey, I think I can mainly play at the college level too?
Yeah, I think that piece of playing AAU was a good indicator because you would go to some tournaments and they would say, yeah, some coaches will be here and start recruiting. Now, I played with somebody named Sherelle Allen. She went on and had Division I offers all over the United States. She ended up at Notre Dame. So she was kind of like the big goat that everybody wanted to come see. And we reap the benefits of a lot of coaches coming there. So I think I was around seventh grade. I got my first letter, hey, we might be interested, fill out this questionnaire and send it back. And from there, it's like, oh my gosh, this could be real, to what level and what extent I wasn't certain. And then I had a pretty successful high school career, not only individually, but, we won WPIAL championships. I played with some great teammates, and it just, being successful and really being in love with the game kind of allowed those other opportunities to show up. And by the time I was my sophomore year, I had scholarship offers, and I loved Ohio University, really liked that coaching staff. And they kind of said, if you want to come here, you got to commit now, and I did not want to lose the opportunity of playing for that staff, going to that university. Thought I would want to do communications, and that's a great program. And so, yeah, I ended up committing pretty early in my junior year, and which was really nice that I could enjoy the rest of my high school career without having pressure. If I get hurt or, something goes rogue, I knew that I had a scholarship.
Do you remember how many offers you had, Rachel? And how was that like, just going through the recruiting process? And did you feel overwhelmed at all knowing that you had a good handful of offers when you were in high school?
Well, funny you should say that, because I think about situations now that kids are getting offered so early, and it's just such a different element of the recruiting process than it was back whenever I played. But with Ohio offering me so early, and I don't know if it was a tactic on their end, but they gave me a small window to accept, or they weren't going to pull. Or they were going to pull it. And so that was my only scholarship at first. I ended up committing, but yes, very overwhelming. I had calls. I went on many visits. It wasn't like they were the only school. But yeah, you wonder, like, is this going to be the right decision? And a lot of thought and talking with your family about it in the best situations. Prayer was something that I leaned on too, but I wanted to be pretty close to home. My family's very important to me. I made visits to Duquesne. I didn't get an offer originally, so it's funny that I ended up there. My story, how I got there, is pretty unique, but when Ohio offered me, they gave me a limited amount of time to accept it. I did. School still called me asking, are you sure you want to take this offer? But I stuck to my word. But yeah, it really was a fun time. I wish I could kind of go back and soak it all in a little bit more, because it was a blur, and you're a high school kid too. So you're trying to balance the social, and not everybody that you are going to school with is experiencing the same kind of decision making to the same degree. So it was overwhelming, but in an enjoyable way, right?
Did any of your classmates try to maybe push you to the school that they were growing up in? Like, go to Pitt, go to Duquesne, go to
Yeah.
Rutgers. I always wondered that with high school recruits, if they have any friends who try to push them to go to a particular school.
Yeah, no, I will say I didn't really experience that. Of course, people would say, Pitt, you should go to Pitt. This would be because they're the big name school in this city. But I will say, when I transferred, and we can talk a little bit about why I transferred to Duquesne later, but it was really awesome when I wear my gear, right? And I still to this day, it's washed out and a little dated now, but people say, did you play there or something like that? And oh, what was it like to play for Susie McConnell Serio? And, it's really neat when people recognize and, acknowledge that that's a pretty cool accomplishment that you played Division I basketball.
Yeah, definitely, Rachel. Yeah, and like you said, we will get to the reason why you did transfer to Duquesne, but what are some of your favorite memories when you were at Ohio University? And I think also one particular one is, what was that reaction when you found out that you were going to be named the MAC Freshman of the Year?
Yeah, I loved Ohio University, so much so that I committed when I was just a sophomore. And it's a beautiful campus. And however, our team was not doing that well, as a whole. I think we won 10 games that season. And I was so brand new. I remember we had to make goals in the beginning of the year and share them with our strength coach and our coaches. And my brother played football at Kent State, and I would work out with him all the time from high school. He was 6 years older than me, so he was in college, and anytime he came home, we were at the gym or at the field running sprints. And he was one of the hardest workers that I've ever seen. And he didn't really have a very successful college career, meaning he didn't really get opportunities to get on the field. He did play behind Josh Cribbs, who ended up playing in the NFL and for the Cleveland Browns as a quarterback. So that didn't help him, right? But I used his work ethic and his experience as like a gauge of where I would be. So my original goals when I went to Ohio, I said, I hope to average about 2 minutes a game and score, average 1 point. I went really didn't have as much confidence, I don't think, in my ability. And I didn't know what college basketball was going to entail. And so my coach came to me and said, hey, girl, we gotta look at these goals again because I'm expecting some big things from you. And I'm so surprised, like, really? You think I'm a freshman? I haven't played. Well, she started me as a freshman and gave me the green light. And I didn't know what I didn't know, right? One of those situations. Like I just went out and busted my butt every day, and it translated onto the court and it translated into points and rebounds. And I'm only 5'10", but I was leading the MAC in both categories at some points. And eventually I started to catch on. Oh, these statistics. I didn't pay attention to any of that in high school. And then rankings and things like that happen in college. I was MAC Player of the Week. I didn't know what it meant. So when that came out, yes, I was very proud and excited. And there was a lot of buzz around about it in the university and the campus. But it was just an honor, and I just felt blessed to have that opportunity. And yeah, I was very excited, and I have the plaque here somewhere in my house. But as a reminder, just so I can show my boys sometimes, he still got it. Your mom had something once back in the day.
Yeah, that's amazing, Rachel. And knowing that you did get so much playing time early, how was that like if you remember stepping on the court for some of your first games, knowing that like, well, I'm playing a Division I basketball game?
Yeah, no, I could pinch myself. And when I get the chance to call games now and see girls have their first start as a freshman, it's a huge deal. But I didn't realize that at the time when I was in that situation. Yesterday, I played, or Duquesne played Kent State, and they had a freshman from Ohio, I'm sorry, Upper St. Clair. Riley Calicay is her name, and she won a Whitfield championship, but she got her first start, and that was awesome to see. And that was a big headline story. But like I said, I didn't know what I didn't know. It's just I was there and I wanted to help my team win. So it was really cool. I will say one funny story. We had a preseason game against South Carolina, like USC, Dawn Staley, although she wasn't there at the time, but huge venue. It was the first time like they turned off the lights, when they do the starting lineup. That never happened before to me. So all those things as a freshman, you don't know. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the lights just went out. Are we still having the game? And then they're calling the starting a lineup. So it's all of those things that you just aren't prepared for as a freshman, but really cool experiences. And you just go with it.
Definitely. And can you tell us a story now about why you decided to come back home and transfer to Duquesne from Ohio?
Yeah, like I said, my family's always been so important to me. And when I finished my sophomore year, I was a captain my sophomore year, which is another huge accomplishment when I look back at it. And I was all MAC conference second team. So I was really getting ready for my junior year. Our team was starting to put some wins together and being really successful. And I remember being in the parking lot at the weight room, and I got a phone call, and it was my parents telling me that, hey, we want to let you know Adam hasn't been feeling well lately. That's my brother. And he was just diagnosed with cancer. And, I'm like, what? What does this mean? And so he had a tumor growing in his hip. The type of cancer he had is called Ewing sarcoma. And he was given like 50% chance to live with going through all of the procedures and the treatments. So with that news, like I was only 3.5 hours away, but when you play a Division I sport, you can't come home whenever you want. So um, I always say, God had his hand on this because right that couple months before that, Susie McConnell Serio got the head coaching position at Duquesne. And I knew her brother. I played for him at AAU. I mean, she's such a well-known name, did amazing job coaching at Oakland Catholic and just a great reputation. So I kind of took that news and put some pieces together and thought, maybe this might be my chance to come home and actually play at home. So with that, back then there wasn't the transfer portal like it is now. So made some connections, had some calls with Susie, and we were able to make the transfer. I could have contested the NCAA and asked not to be redshirted due to family situations, but I went along with it. I took my redshirt year. It really worked out for me because I was able to graduate in 3.5 years and then get my master's degree, which I'm really proud about. But yeah, so I transferred because my brother was diagnosed with cancer. That redshirt year, I was able to stay with my family a lot between treatments, and when the team would travel, I'd stay home. And he beat it, which is awesome, through the cancer. He made it. And so much that UPMC knows his story. He has one of those commercials, what they put the music on, Colton, do, 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 do. And it's really great because through that, my high school best friend was at Duquesne. She would travel with me and visit my brother, and they ended up like falling in love with each other during that time. And they got married, and now they have 3 kids. So it's like a really fascinating story how, my life was going one direction, and now I'm going to play basketball at Duquesne. And then fast forward, now I have 3 nieces and nephews, and my brother married my high school best friend. So, and everybody's healthy, and it all worked out.
That's absolutely phenomenal, Rachel. Was your brother able to come at games at all when you were at Duquesne?
Yeah, he did. We have some good pictures of him like completely bald, because he lost all of his hair and so thin and frail. But yeah, he would make the games, and then eventually while I was playing, fast forward a year, they would have watch parties, and it was different back then, right? You had to like log in and modem, I'm dating myself, Colton, you don't even know, dial up internet and listen to the games and things like that. But my family would do that together, and we've just always been close since then. So um it was really, I'm glad he made it, and it's awesome to see that it's just like a memory now.
And what was that like for you, Rachel, going through, I guess we can't call it the transfer portal, but what was it like for you transferring to another school in the pre-transfer portal era?
I know. Now, I will say I sometimes am envious of these girls now, how they can bounce around and figure out the best place for them without any real penalty. But like I said, I wasn't looking to go anywhere except Duquesne. Pitt wasn't really on my radar at that time. I think I'm a very mid-major player, and I had success there, and I wanted to have an immediate impact. And so Duquesne was a great spot for me to go to. And yeah, just it was very different then. I was just talking to somebody about it. People sometimes would reach out to you and offer things at that time. Hey, here's some money, or here's a gift, and we could not accept anything, right? Like there was none of that. And now you hear about people getting all this money. So you're like, oh man, what did I miss out on? But, you know, I wouldn't trade my experience for anything.
And did you have to like go through the NCAA at all? And like, did you have to say like you were transferring, because of family reasons, because you
Yeah,
were good at it?
I want to say there in compliance probably they took care of all that background stuff, but I do remember them saying, "Hey, if you want to, we can contest this and probably let you play right away." And Duquesne was great. They let that decision be up to me. And I kind of just decided, with what's going on with my family and, um, you know, a, a transition from going from a different school and trying to get my academics and just adjusting. I thought that extra year wouldn't be a bad thing for me. And it really didn't, it ended up working out to my benefit. I got to graduate and then get my master's with that too. So that was nice.
And of course, you mentioned a little while ago, since you did transfer to Duquesne, you had a chance to play for a member of the Pittsburgh basketball royal family with Susie McConnell Serial. So, with her background, oh no, so for anybody who doesn't know, she's in the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. So, what was that like?
Two-time, two-time gold medalist, right? Like she played in the WNBA, coached in the WNBA. Yeah, like anybody who played basketball it would be a dream to play for her.
Yeah, and she was also on an episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, if
That's
anybody would want
right.
to go watch
Yes.
that. So, what was that like for you, Rachel, playing for her?
Yeah. Now, Susie, we just saw her yesterday. I saw her yesterday at the Duquesne game, and it was really great to see her. Um, she knows her basketball and could draw up a play for any situation. I swear, if we were down seven, she would draw up a play that would get us back into the game with one shot. That's how amazing she knows her X's and O's. And just in awe, like anything she would say, we're like, okay, whatever you say, coach, because she's been there. She's trained at the highest level. She's played against the toughest competition. So if she's telling us to do something, we're pretty sure she knows what she's talking about. So yeah, really well respected. I will always be forever grateful to her that she gave me the opportunity to come home and get the chance to play for her. I was always a little jealous of my friends who did play for her at Oakland Catholic, and have so many wonderful things to say. So I'm glad I got my shot.
And what are your favorite memories, Rachel, from your time at Duquesne? And are there any particular games that stand out to you?
Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot. One thing that I will be proud about always is that my first year of playing was the first year that Duquesne played in postseason game, right? The WNIT ever in program history. So that was something that was really enjoyable. And then there was one game that we laugh about all the time. I can tell you the day because it was my mom's birthday, February 6th. And it was probably the year you were born, Colton, but it was a huge storm and blizzard that George Washington was who we were playing, already traveled in the night before. So they were here. The referees were here. And so they were wondering, I think it was like, I don't know, like 3 feet of snow, like all in one night. It was wild. And they're like, well, we have everybody. Should we play this game? So the game went on. They had it. It was broadcasted. Back then, you got like one CBS game a year. So it was broadcasted, but nobody was in the stands. Literally, like nobody. I grew up 20 minutes away. My parents couldn't even make the trip into town for this game because the roads were so bad. Dan Burt, the current head coach at Duquesne, he couldn't drive. The roads were so bad. He walked from Montour to Duquesne to coach this game. So the news stations, I want to find this so badly, the clip, because we remember watching like the news coming over to interview him. They're like, "What are you doing, sir?" And he's like, "I got a basketball game to coach." So this is a memory that I'll always think about. But in turn, it was one of like the best games that I ever played. I think I dropped like 18 points at Duquesne, and I went like 3 for 4 from behind the arc. But thank goodness CBS was there because otherwise nobody would believe it happened, right? Because it was, nobody was there.
That
And that's
is
one of those memories we laugh about.
that's insane, Rachel. Oh my goodness. And so Dan was an assistant, I assume, at the time,
He was
right?
an assistant at that time, so that just shows his dedication to Duquesne back then, and well deserved that he's the head coach now. He's doing a great job with the program.
How was that like when you did get a chance to play in the WNIT?
Oh, yeah, it was definitely a different vibe, and they bring in a lot of extra logos and extra security. There was just a different element you could feel. And knowing that we were the first time in ever program history to accomplish that was a lot to be proud of.
And just overall, Rachel, during your time at both Ohio and Duquesne, what was the grind like of being a Division I athlete and a Division I basketball player? And can you take us through roughly what a day in the life was for you when you were playing?
Yeah, I mean, it was something that I'm grateful that I had teammates to do it with, and I wasn't doing it alone. And the nice piece about being in a D1 program is that you have a lot of support, right? There's advisors there to help you academically. There's strength coaches. There's everybody there that wants to see you succeed. So I'm grateful for that. But yeah, it's a very regimented life. You don't get to experience maybe what the average college student does get to experience. You have a little bit more responsibility, waking up early, reporting for weights at, maybe 6 o'clock in the morning doesn't mean 6:05, 6:10. You need to be there 5 minutes early, right? And learning that trick of the trade that if you're 5 minutes late early, you're on time. And just really a very regimented routine. Your body is sore so much. Reporting to class, making sure you're cutting your grades and making sure you're getting to your study table hours. There's a lot of great things that are in place to help you succeed. And truly, if you work hard and put the effort into it, it's hard not to succeed being a student athlete. A lot of people are there to support you, but it's something that I wouldn't trade. The places that I've traveled, the people that I met, I said that earlier, but it's really true. And I have forever connections, forever friends and memories. I'm super grateful to have that experience.
And what were the things that you had to do during the off season year round to start preparing for the next season?
Yeah, so that's where maybe you got a little chance to dabble because off season was whenever the coaches would say, "Here's what I want you to do," but I don't have the ability to make sure you're doing it as much. You get a little bit more flexibility due to rules and regulations of the NCAA. So I took that very serious. If you ask me to do something, I'm going to do it and I'm going to chart it and make sure. So I always looked at, the off season was whenever you could get better. The champions were made. And so it's funny, I have a nephew right now. He just finished his sophomore year playing football at Hampton. And I said, oh my gosh, you're a junior now. He's like, I'm still a sophomore. I'm like, no, you're a junior now. Like you got to think that way. So yeah, it's a time to get better, and that's the beauty about off season, right? Like whatever happened in the past, if it was the best season you had in the past, then you build on it. If you didn't get the results you wanted, what can you do now to change that? So this upcoming season, you're in a place to be successful.
And you also had a chance to play a little bit, especially in Brazil with Athletes in Action. So, what is Athletes in Action? And for anyone who isn't familiar with it, and how was that like playing in Brazil?
Yeah, so I had this opportunity. And a lot of campuses might have athletes in action or Christian fellowship with their sports programs. A lot of, like I was saying, there's a lot of people here to support you, and that's even in your walk and faith with God. So that was one program. It's international. And to be honest, I'm not sure if it is still around or not. But back when I played, that was something that you could try out for. And they go based off of where you play, your stats, and what kind of level you would go to in terms of international play. So I made the team that went to Brazil, and really cool, played with girls across the country, some from UCLA, Illinois. They'd made a whole team, and it was a lot of focus on basketball, but using basketball as our platform to share God and our testimonies with people in Brazil. So got to see a whole different walk of life. The one thing I will say about Brazil, and I don't know if this was the place I was or if this is a whole Brazil thing, but they eat hot dogs. Listen to this. Their hot dog, they put mashed potatoes on their hot dog bun with their hot dog and corn. And that was like their hot dog. Isn't that crazy? So that was one thing that I thought was a little wild. But really awesome. We went to different towns, would play against their teams, and have international competition. And then we would always kind of exchange jerseys or shoes and what you would imagine like being a professional athlete. They thought being American was like the coolest thing, and they wanted our autographs and thought we were like superstars. But in reality, like we felt very privileged to go down there and see what it's like to be there, play against those people, and then, share testimonies.
Mashed potatoes and corn on a hot
I
dog.
know. Crazy.
My two favorite sides were, since we're recording this Thanksgiving week, and those are my two favorite Thanksgiving
Try
sides.
it. You got to try it.
Did you ever have a chance to try it?
I did. I said, hey, when in Rome, when in Brazil, I'll give it a whirl. So I don't think I've revisited it since I've been back, but yeah, that was something. Like I said, I don't know if it was just like that particular area, like we have Permanis in Pittsburgh, put some French fries on, coleslaw on our sandwich, if that was that area or what, but pretty wild.
Yeah, that is amazing, Rachel. And you also had a chance to try out for the WNBA as well. So, what was that experience like? And what team did you try out for?
Well, I will say that I was invited to try out, but by that time, I was pretty much done with my basketball career. I was ready to focus on the next stage of life. So I got the invitation. They wanted me to fill out the paperwork, but I didn't pursue it. And my boys will not let that down with me. And now I kind of look back and see so many players going international and playing professionally. I just was at that point being redshirted, and I was already older for my grade always growing up. So I think I was about 24 when I finished up college basketball. And I just was like, I think I'm ready to start like my professional career of, trying to teach and get on with my life. So that's something maybe I'll have a little bit of regret that I didn't pursue. Not to say like I would have made it or not, but even playing internationally, I was kind of done. My body was worn from playing for so many years. So my playing career ended, when I was finishing up at Duquesne. I still will play from time to time, and I love it. It's the best workout. But yeah, I'm getting older and my body doesn't love it as much as my mind and my heart do, but it's the best sport ever.
How was that like for you when your college career did come to an end?
Yeah, it's one of those bittersweet experiences, right? Like you've worked so hard and you see it and you have all season to prepare because this is your senior year. This is, what legacy do you want to leave? So yeah, there was definitely a part of me that I was ready. I was student teaching. So I could see a little glimpse of what my future was going to be because this is going to be the next stage of your life. So I was really looking forward to that. But yeah, I am just so appreciative. And I think the more that time has passed and I can look back, and women's basketball is at like the front line right now of everything. And I look at that and I'm just in awe. And I hope these girls know what they're doing and how special it is, because I look back on it and I would go back to those days in a minute. But like what I said about being a freshman and having a successful experience, I didn't know. You don't know it until it's gone. So, yes, I loved every minute of it. I was excited to be done in so many ways because I was ready to be a grown up, but I'd go back to those days in a second.
And I was gonna get to your time, wanting to be a coach, Rachel, but I did want to ask first, just thinking about it. How is that like for you just to see the growth of women's college basketball to just what it has become today? And, we had your fellow announcer on Alice Panormius a few months ago on the program, a good friend of mine as well. And we'll get to your time broadcasting, sooner here. But, I asked him the same question. It just really seemed like it's started with the Caitlin Clark effect because it just seemed like it exploded when Caitlin Clark was at Iowa.
I feel the same exact way. And I remember somebody at the grocery store that, I'm wearing something basketball, and somebody comes up to me and says, "Oh, are you going to watch Caitlin Clark beat the record today?" Like that would have never happened. A man coming up asking if they're watching women's basketball on a Sunday afternoon. So yeah, I would say the Caitlin Clark definitely she brought a huge aura to women's basketball and put it on the front line. And it's awesome. And I think it's well deserved and well overdue. So it's just amazing. And I'm really envious of these girls that they have this. But at the same time, I think if you talk to any fellow players, my era and beforehand, I look at the people who played before me and they set me up for success, So there's definitely been the foundation that has been built for players prior, but Caitlin Clark put a huge brick in that foundation.
And moving on to your time coaching, when did you decide as well that you wanted to become a coach?
Yeah, from forever, I felt like I wanted to be a coach. Number one, because of the people who have coached me, and I look up to them and I know what an impact they made on my life. And I wanted to be that same person to other female athletes. Now, I was able to coach. I'm a teacher. I went on to teach. So that kind of goes hand in hand, right? Coaching and teaching, very much similar skill sets. And so I was able to coach with Sherry McConnell, which is another married into the McConnell family. And then I was able to go back to my alma mater and coach at North Catholic, which was so amazing to go back and coach with my high school coach alongside a high school teammate, and just give back to my school. And that was amazing. Now, since then, I've had kids and they've kind of taken on a little bit more of my time that I couldn't give to the high school basketball, because it's very demanding. As much as I'd love to, I always, try to get involved, and it's just sometimes just too much at this point in my life. So I'm very grateful that I'm still involved with the game, coach my own boys, go Mars fourth grade basketball team, and my first grade sons team. And then I have the opportunity to still be really involved with basketball with the broadcasting. And so I feel still very connected. It's not the way that I envisioned I'd be contributing. I always dabble, can I get involved with AAU? But at the same time, a lot of those games and schedules are during baseball season, and I don't want to miss out on my own kids too. So I'm hopeful, I'm faithful that my time will come. And I'm just really grateful that I still can be very involved in the sport. And as it is evolving, I feel like I'm still a part of it, and I'm not missing out.
And what are some of your favorite memories, Rachel, when you did coach high school basketball in the WPIAL?
Yeah, well, coaching at North Allegheny, I mean, you call it like the University of NA because that the facilities there and what they have and the types of players, and that was amazing to be a part of such a great program and learning from Sherry McConnell, who was a great coach, and Lynn Roman is another coach that was there. She actually was a head basketball coach at Robert Morris at a point, assistant coach at Duquesne. So I was surrounded by some really strong basketball knowledge and great leaders and women. And then when I went to go to North Catholic to coach, it was just awesome to be part of my alma mater, but learning from Molly Larkin, Rotman, and then alongside her dad who coached me, we won a WPIAL championship. I mean, one of how many that North Catholic has had, but it's neat to say I won a WPIAL as a player and a coach.
Yeah, that is awesome. How did it feel for you? And when did that come to mind thinking like, Well, I won a WPIAL championship as both a player and a coach now when you did win, when you were at North
Yeah.
Catholic.
No, I just was so excited for the girls when I coached, when they won, because what it meant to me as a player, I'm so excited that I got to share that with them and they got to experience it as a player too, because it's really something special. And I played in I'm trying to think, I played in three WPIAL championships, one, two. And it doing it so much, you kind of get, I hate to say, like, that was normal for me, but that's really not typical for a regular high school player to be like, yeah, yeah, I won two WPIAL champion, played in three. So, yeah, looking back, when you step back and look at that resume that I got to experience, it is pretty impressive. And I sometimes am in awe of it. And I'm just so grateful for the people who helped me become, have those opportunities to participate in the WPIAL championships as a player and a coach.
And now moving on to your broadcasting career, Rachel. When did you decide you wanted to give broadcasting a try?
Yeah, well, my undergrad was in communications. And so I always liked that piece of it growing up. And I would be outside a lot of times. I would remember dribbling in my driveway and calling out the games. All right, get down by two. What are they going to do? And I would play these scenarios in my head. Then fast forward, I go to Ohio University. The game plan was I was always going to try to get into broadcasting and get into the script school. So that was part of the process, trying to get in. They accept so many people originally, and then every year they would bring in a new wave. So if you kept a good grade point GPA and did all these other requirements, I was on the track to get into the script school at Ohio University. So it was something that I would talk to the person covering our game, and try to get, tips and things like that. But like like I said, I went to Duquesne. They didn't really have a communication program at that time. So things shifted and I went into OrgComm and more of like the sales and marketing aspect, which was fascinating in so many ways. But yeah, so I thought, that kind of dream has like come and gone. I I loved your episode with Greg Brown. I shadowed him in high school. Trenny Krznaric was another local sports broadcaster. She's doing big things now, but I shadowed them thinking this is definitely what I wanted to do. So when I transferred and I started teaching, I just thought, okay, that time has come and gone. God had different plans for me. But a couple years ago, Dan Burt approached me and said, "Hey, Rachel, I'd love to have a female voice on our games and would love for you to be doing our color." And I could not have been more excited and nervous about the situation. I didn't take any time to think about it. I was like, absolutely, this is what I want to do. Talk to my husband. He's like, you have to try this. You'll regret it if you didn't. So yeah, so I'm 3 years into it. Last year I started calling high school games, which it's one of those things, and you would have to attest. You have such a passion for sports and sharing it, and you get to be courtside and see this. I just feel so grateful to have the opportunity, and there's been a lot of amazing mentors to me along the way as well. So, it's one of those things, it's an art, but also, you can learn a lot about it and the production and the behind the scenes things that I forgot a lot about and didn't know necessarily about. It's a big deal to get a whole game up and running. So I love it. It's a new kind of era for me. I told Dan Burt that. I said, thank you. I was in my mom era, and now like this is something new that gives me a new identity and a passion.
Yeah, and of course, you do the majority of Duquesne women's basketball with, we mentioned it a little while ago, my good friend, Mr. Alex Panormius. He has also been on this program as well. So how was that like working with Alex, Rachel? Because he's someone who I love to death, and I know he's extremely passionate about Duquesne just as much.
Oh, yeah. And I have to tell you, Alex called my games back in the day when I played at Duquesne. So I knew him a little bit, but I was a little worried. What was Alex going to do? Because I'm coming in on as a color commentator, and he's been working with another person for so long. Was I going to be well received? Kind of had them like the idea of Anchorman. You've seen that movie, right?
Oh,
There's
yes,
this
indeed.
woman, and I was like, is this going to be well received? But like, I could not have asked for a better partner with it. He was so welcoming to me and giving me positive feedback and, hey, giving me some ideas and working on each other's cues. It takes some time to work with somebody and kind of get the rhythm, but he's been wonderful and I really enjoyed. My very first game was called with Josh Taylor, and it was the city game, the pick game at Duquesne. So we're getting ready for that to come back to Duquesne. Duquesne has won two of the three the past 2 years. It's been awesome. And that was what a splash to start your broadcasting. I remember my heart rate and looking at my watch for the rest of the day. Like it was so high because I was just so excited about the opportunity.
Yeah, how was that? Yeah, that was actually one of my questions, Rachel. How was that like for you when you did put the headset on for the first time and called the game? And did you feel maybe a little bit of maybe more nerves knowing that it was such a significant game, knowing that it's the city game?
Oh yeah, I would be lying if I said I wasn't nervous at all. And even the magnitude of the game too. Um, And unlike you, I don't really have the background of broadcasting, right? I have communications, but going through and doing a lot of those trials, I will say this opportunity came to me and I'm very grateful for it. But I think it's because of the experiences that I've had as a basketball player, that set me up for this. So I the headsets were on and they're like, we're going in 10. And I remember looking at Josh, I'm like, we're doing it right now. Like, this is it. So my joke is when I see Josh Taylor, I'm like, how's your back? Because I feel like he carried me that game, like, is your back, has it healed yet? But what a game because Duquesne won by 2. It came down to the last second of a shot. So that will always be ingrained in my mind, definitely a core memory. But yeah, I'm just so proud of women's basketball. I'm so proud of Duquesne University. But I'm also proud, of myself and proud of Alex, what we do, our production team. We really try our best to not come off one-sided either. It's easy to do when you see Duquesne every home game that there's a new opponent. So I try to do my due diligence, really research the program, their players, talk to their coaches. It's a lot of time people don't know goes into having a good game to broadcast.
Yeah, so what is your preparation like for a broadcast, Rachel?
Yeah, so right now I have a lot of time, but we just finished up Kent State. So usually after I finish a game, I will already look at the next game that's coming up. I'll look at their roster, right? And I'll just start setting up my paperwork on let's get the rosters, the names, because that's not going to change. Numbers, names, where they're from, their height, position. I can put that stuff in my notes. And then I'll start reading past game notes and I'll start watching film and just start seeing tendencies on the players. I'll try to find some noteworthy events that are happening. If you can go back 3 games and kind of get something on each player, you pretty much have a lot to say and you're prepared. I will go home a lot of times and be like, oh my gosh, I had all these notes, but you don't get to all of them, right, in a game. And then I always really like to talk to the coach, both coaches before the game, just to kind of get a feel. Because for our broadcast, we usually feature one key player that we're going to focus on to start, and then 3 keys to the game. So you really need to do your homework to be able to say this is what each team needs to do or prevent from happening if they're going to walk away with the win.
And when
But a
you
lot of time goes into it, really.
Oh, yes, definitely, Rachel. And when you are on the air, what are some things that you look for when the game is in session on the court, knowing that you have that experience playing basketball and at the Division 1 level? So I know that you have a major benefit. So what are some things that you like to see when the game is live and the ladies are on the court?
Yeah, I will say sometimes you have to like change your lens, right? Like I'm going to watch the ball in certain situations, and then you got to watch and take a step back and look at it through like a coach perspective. What defense are they running? What offense? Who's setting screens? And what are the mismatches and things like that? So I continually try to change my lens of what's going on. Another thing that's, as a broadcaster, you have the monitor in front of you. So what you see on the court might not necessarily be exactly what the viewers are watching on the screen. So, you want to kind of zone in on what's going on right in front of you. But you also, if there's a replay on the screen, and you're not paying attention, you might miss that, and that's a great opportunity to shed light on what's being replayed. So that's been an adjustment, I think, as a broadcaster, just learning what's your best angle and what do you want to be calling out right now. So I typically try to really zone in on what defenses are being played, how is the offense attacking. But yeah, you look at individuals as well, and strategies of the team and how they're accomplishing it. And then you get your stats. I'm very fortunate. I think when I first called my first high school game, those stats weren't getting fed to me like they do in a college game. I have my iPad there with all the up-to-date real-time stats, but in high school, that's not so much the case. You're keeping your own stats. So it makes you stay versatile, and really hone in on your craft. And it's depending on the situation and the game and the scenario, I kind of can shift on what I want to focus on.
And do you have a particular game, Rachel, that comes to mind as one of your favorites that you have called so far at Duquesne?
Oh, I will say now that this is my third year, a lot of the opponents will flip-flop every year, right? If Duquesne plays them at home, the following year they're away, and then they're coming back. So it's neat to see some of these players that I remember, for example, Kent State. They're one of those teams. I called them very early in my first year. Then Duquesne went to Kent, and then they returned. So I'm seeing these girls and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're juniors now. I remember them as freshmen. But that Kent State game, the very first time that they played, besides the Pitt one, it went into double overtime. And so that one was a very long game that just a lot of downtime. I would also give a big shout out to last year, Duquesne, the team. No, this I'm going to draw a blank on who they were playing, so that's not the important part. But somebody had a heart attack during halftime. I don't know if you've ever heard this story, but there's a fan dropped down with a heart attack right in the middle of halftime. So we're, getting ready, and you have your headphones, so you don't hear everything. The girls are warming up, and you could just feel some tension, and you could just feel like the life come out of the gym. Everybody's very still and calm. So we take our headphones off, and you can start seeing people running around the upper part of the Cooper Fieldhouse. The EMS responded very quickly. They saved his life, which was amazing. A couple games later, they did a whole tribute and reunited the patient to the EMS and the doctors. But that was something that, broadcasting, I don't think, be any type of preparedness can make you ready for something like that. When you're still having to keep airtime going on, they had to send the girls back to the both program. I want to say it was Rhode Island, to be honest. And so that was remarkable. But the best thing was, taking a moment, and we're like, we are hoping the best for this person, and knowing that it all worked out well for him. And a couple games later, seeing them reunite was really special.
Yeah, how was that like seeing them reunite? Because it just seemed like that had to be so emotional.
Yeah, it was really remarkable. And then just knowing that what could have happened, in the worst case scenario, and knowing that they had amazing life-saving people there to do it. That next game, whenever they reunited, it was a standing ovation for everybody, and it was really special.
Yeah, that really is indeed special, Rachel.
But I mean, those are like the off things. But seeing Megan McConnell, she's one of a lifetime basketball player at Duquesne University, and it will be forever in the record books in so many ways. She was a treat to watch day in and day out.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Yeah, that is all. Yeah, that is all phenomenal, Rachel. And then you've also talked about it a few times, how you are also a mother as well to your two boys. So how is that like balancing everything you do now, especially now with your broadcasting career, as a wife and also as a mother of your two boys?
Yeah, we spoke a little bit before we came on air and just said that, it does require a lot of time to put in for the preparation. And then this isn't all easy to put together, getting your hair and your makeup done. That takes up time and getting dressed and driving down to the gym and making sure you're early. There's a lot of time that, you know, in calculation, it might not all add up that it's worth it. But when you have a passion about doing it and you just love it and you don't want to miss out on it, it makes it all worth it. So I have a great support system. My family helps out a lot and they're supportive. And I hope to ride this as long as I can because it really is such a huge passion of mine.
And have your boys started playing sports, and have any of them started playing basketball yet?
Yeah, so both of them play basketball. They play all the sports right now. I'm not sure what direction they're going to end up, if they have to make a decision, but they love coming down to the Duquesne games. They love, telling people, yeah, my mom's on TV and, they'll sometimes get behind because they know the shots and try to get on themselves. So they love it. I don't know if they understand like that's pretty cool in so many ways, but yeah, it's great, and I love that they are falling in love with the game of basketball too.
How does that feel for you knowing that you're passing down that love of basketball to your two sons?
Oh, I mean, I watch, basketball in itself, and if you watched Duke last year, right? They had players and they would attribute so much to their mom and what they've done in the past. Um, so I hope, not to say that I think that they're going to go on and be amazing players, like uh, Knipple and Cooper Flag, but both of their moms had a very impressive basketball career, and they would talk about the battles that they have in their driveway. And, they're young, but I still will go out there and we play. And yeah, I'm gonna not let them beat me as long as I have control over it. So yeah.
Do they do they like to come to the games when you do Duquesne? Do they like to come to the games and watch you from the booth, or do they like to stay home and actually watch you and listen to you on TV?
I think they do like to come to the games because they like to try to get on the Jumbotron and get the high fives and then sometimes sneak into the auxiliary gym and get some extra shots up themselves. So there's some cool perks that they get to experience, but it will be neat. They'll be like, Mom, I loved what you said when you did it, or, Mom, you should have said this. Did So they'll critique me.
What do they? Oh, so what are some other things that they say then to critique you then?
Maybe they'll just say like, you said she had 3,000, maybe she had four or something, or it's just something that they'll catch. I mean, you give them any chance to tell me I'm wrong, that they're going to do it.
Yeah, that is all phenomenal, Rachel. And then yeah, it just seems like things came full circle for you a few weeks ago when you were inducted into the Pittsburgh Basketball Club Women's Hall of Fame. So, first, what was your reaction when you first found out you were going to get inducted?
Yeah, I got a phone call just telling me that the committee is recommending that I get inducted. And just hearing that, I was so appreciative and in awe and almost like, really? Because it was so long ago, my playing career. I'm a different person, but at the same time, that was such a huge part of my life. And, I wasn't sure, but the first people I wanted to tell were my parents because they've had such a huge part of my success and they sacrificed so much for me. So I let them know. And I was just so honored. And then when I heard about the class that I was being inducted with, two McConnells, Megan Cower, to just name a few, I was really just in awe that I was going to be in the same company as them. So, very grateful, very appreciative, but in awe, and then just proud. Like I forgot about, and I think as you get older, you can have that opportunity to say, wow, it was good. Because, along the way, you try to be humble. And I think I did a good job of doing that throughout the ways, but it was a nice way to reflect and see so many people in my past, of my journey of basketball all in one room there and smiling for me because it's like you invested in me at such an early age and look at who I am now. And I have so much gratitude for those people because it's not just, the X's and O's, but the time that they spent, it's a sacrifice to be a coach.
Who went? How was the ceremony, and who went with you for the ceremony?
Yeah, so the ceremony was great. We at my table, I had my parents and then my husband. My brother and sister would have loved to be there, but they have kids of their own, and I needed babysitting because it was a long event. And I didn't even bring my boys there because I just didn't want them to have to worry about rustling through. And I wanted to soak it all in and really enjoy it myself. So took some pictures, had some videos, I'll cherish forever. But it was really special, reuniting with Megan, one of my former teammates at AAU, and seeing her family, her sister, her dad was there, which everybody was very excited about. The entire McConnell family was there because Kathy and Tom were getting inducted. And then former AAU coaches there, Bill Palermo and Carrie Palermo, were big factors for me. So it was really just a special day, and I'm just, really grateful for it.
And when we were talking before we started the program, you also mentioned that Megan Cower's dad was there, known also as Bill Cower. So
Sure.
can you tell us that story that we were talking about off air when you were playing with Megan?
Yeah, Megan and we grew up very close together. I grew up in Hampton. She was in Fox Chapel. So when we would have to travel across the city to AAU, our parents did the carpooling. So a lot of times we would ride together to places. But there was one time we were just laughing about this story because we thought it was just so funny at the time. But we were out to eat with her dad, and a waitress came over and was told Mr. Cower. I still call him Mr. Cower out of like respect, but I would hear about, on our drives home, he'd be like, Jerome Bettis, he gained weight, he's gonna get fined. Like all these cool things that was the coolest thing to hear about, that you knew that the normal person didn't know all of this stuff behind the scenes. I had no clue if Jerome Bettis grew, gained some LBs that he would get in trouble. But anyways, we're at dinner and the waitress goes up to him and says, "Hey, you look a lot like Bill Cower." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And my dad, he's really witty. He's like, "Yeah, he's been told that before." And she said, "But you know what? You're much handsomer than Bill Cower. Bill Cower has that really long jaw." And it's like, and she was playing like she was playing a trombone, cutting up on his jaw. And he just had to shake and nod, never made the connection that was Bill Cower. So we still laugh about that story.
Rachel, I'm so envious of you that you have that story. That's a once in a lifetime story. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And finally, for you, Rachel, what advice do you have for just anybody who has an interest in joining the sports industry, whether it's maybe like a broadcaster or as a coach?
Yeah, I would say grind, 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 grind. And that's truly what you need to do. Anything in life, if you want to be successful, if you're passionate about it, it's going to work out. So put in the time, put in, the effort, be willing to, and I say this in silly ways, but be willing to pick up the garbage, be willing to scrub the toy, whatever it takes. Nothing is above you, because it will get you in the right situations. And like I said, I was not expecting to get back into basketball, especially the broadcasting piece, but I definitely feel a little bit of luck. But I think you make good connections with people, things will work out. They know you're a hard worker. And then don't be afraid to ask people for advice. Tim Benz is another person that I reach out to, and I ask him to break down film with me. Hey, can you look at this? Give me some tips, advice. So I've learned from a lot of great, successful people in the industry, and I am still looking. I watched a game the other day, and there was a great color commentator, and I asked the coach, I said, "Is there any way you can get me in touch with her? Because I liked what she was saying. I want to learn and get feedback from her." So I think just being a student, a forever learner, and being willing to put in the time, you will be successful.
Rachel,
Keep
this is
knocking on those doors.
yes, indeed. Rachel, this has been absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. And I hope you and your family have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thanks so much, Colton. It was great connecting with you, and I really appreciated going down memory lane with you. So hopefully we'll cross our paths soon. But yes, happy Thanksgiving to you and everybody else.